Today we'll be looking at a game that made Malaysian chess history. This is the game that made Poh Yu Tian Malaysia's next international master, and he won it in great style. In this game, Poh Yu Tian is up against John Dave Lavandero, who was half a point ahead in the standings, but with a worse tiebreak, he would certainly have to win this game to secure first place. The game opened with the Alapin variation. I get the feeling that White in this game, being much lower rated than his opponent, was happy with a draw, which is of course nice when you have a lead and you know that your competitors having tougher pairings are unlikely to win. So e5, knight d5, d4. Poh Yu Tian takes on d4 and plays d6. Knight f3, knight c6. This is all the main line. And here White went for quite a surprising move.
I thought he was going to play like bishop c4. Like, that's more common.
Yeah. And like main lines, yeah. Like something like this, yeah. And okay, it's very solid, yeah. Because you're like, keep it solid, you know. Maybe you can try to play on and press in the endgame. Which is what you've been doing all tournament, yeah? Pressing like equal endgames into wins. Now, as Poh Yu Tian mentions, bishop e2 is not a great move. Bishop c4 is of course better. And that's why his move g6 is actually pretty strong. The pawn on e5 is now quite difficult to defend after castles bishop g7. And yes, after rook e1, Black can't exactly take the pawn on e5 immediately. At least he can't take twice, because if he were to take on e5, then after d takes c5, knight takes c5, then there is a problem in that White has bishop b5 check. And after bishop d7, White takes and wins the bishop on e5. So in the game, Black decides to castle, and now White plays h3. Again, Black cannot take on e5 because there would be a very nasty move in bishop f3, hitting the knight on d5. But instead, Poh Yu Tian simply takes once, and after de5, develops his bishop to f5. Now White will have a long-term problem with this pawn on e5. It always requires some sort of passive defense, and it's a weakness rather than a strength. Now Black's pieces are perfectly well developed. In fact, he has a very nice lead in development, and White's position seems a bit overextended. All in all, Black's position is very comfortable. And knowing that a draw was enough to win the tournament, given that his nearest competitors had already made a quick draw, this must have been a nice situation for Poh Yu Tian. But of course, he wanted to win, just to make it extra clear. Now here, Black has a pretty nasty threat of knight d to b4, which threatens the move knight c2 winning material. So White played the move a3. But perhaps White had a bit of a better practical chance, as Poh Yu Tian mentions during his post-game interview. I don't know, what do you think his mistake really was? Because it felt like everything just went so smoothly for you, yeah?
Instead of a3, maybe, I don't know, knight d4, maybe. I was like,
knight d4, yeah?
But still, if I...
Yeah, you can take e5, yeah.
Yeah, you can take on f5.
Yeah.
At least he has like the double bishops, I think.
Yeah, true. At least there's some compensation, yeah? So a very interesting variation indeed, but not one that's easy to go for, especially since White's just thinking of making a draw and he wants to keep the status quo. That's a typical mistake when you're playing higher rated players, as what it usually ends up doing is it just gives your opponent very easy play and they get everything they want and more. So Poh Yu Tian simply plays knight to b6. Now here again, White made another mistake.
Yeah.
Knight b6 and...
I don't think he should have taken the queen, maybe bishop f4, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still like more comfortable here, I think.
Oh yeah, of course, no question. What were you gonna play?
I could take,
and rook d8.
Yeah, rook d8 maybe.
It looks nice for Black. Yeah. All your pieces are well developed. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe knight c3 and many ways you can try to play here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's objectively, it's obviously objectively probably equal, but it's nice to have Black.
Yeah.
I think. So indeed, of course, White should have developed his bishop and allowed Black to take on d1, which would give White a bit of a better version. But with the move queen takes d8, White is trying to simplify the position in the hope of steering the game closer to a draw, but of course all it does is play into Yu Tian's hands. He plays rook f takes d8, bishop f4. Now Black has a very nice lead in development, and you see, he's not letting his opponent finish his development easily. He plays knight a4, hitting the pawn on b2. White must defend it with b3, and Yu Tian drops his knight back to c5, again hitting the pawn on b3. Now I think relatively best would be to play knight bd2, but here Poh Yu Tian would play knight d3, bishop takes, rook d3, and simply double his rooks on the d file. And with the two bishops and active rooks, it's clear that Black is the one in the driver's seat. Instead, after the move b4, things went from bad to worse. Black went in with his knight, of course. Bishop takes d3, rook takes d3, and white desperately tries to create some play with the move b5. But Poh Yu Tian calmly brings his knight forward to d4. He's not afraid of trading pieces. In fact, what he wants to do is to trade off his opponent's best pieces and leave him with the really lousy ones. White has to take on d4 in view of the threat of knight c2, so white takes, and Poh Yu Tian takes back. Now the bishop drops back to g3, and Poh Yu Tian plays rook c8, controlling the c file. Now Poh Yu Tian has full control over the two open files, and the knight on b1 just makes a great impression. There's literally no squares for it. White plays rook a2, and now Poh Yu Tian brings his last piece into the game with bishop h6. Now the game is completely over. John plays rook b2, but now Poh Yu Tian has calculated this phase exceedingly well. He plays rook c1, takes bishop c1, rook b3, because the rook was attacked, and any other move would hang the knight on b1, but now bishop c2 is really nasty. White was banking on the move rook c3 because, of course, if you take the knight, then white would take the bishop on c1. But Poh Yu Tian first gives a check with rook d1. And after king h2, well, that's a free knight. And for a player as strong as Poh Yu Tian, this is child's play. Rook c8 check, king g7, and now he swipes off another pawn and brings his bishop back to c5. Rook c7 and simply rook d5. Everything is defended, and now Poh Yu Tian is ready to bring his bishop back to d3 and take the pawn on b5 as well. So white had to resign. A simple and strong game by Poh Yu Tian, and he almost made it look effortless, winning easily against a dangerous Filipino junior. Congratulations to Poh Yu Tian for being the youngest international master in Malaysia. Before this tournament, I said that this was a done deal, and it most certainly was the case. His performance was dominating, and I had the privilege of congratulating him personally at the venue. Yeah, best of luck in the rest of your chess journey. We are all rooting for you. Hopefully you can become Malaysia's first grandmaster. Best of luck in your chess journey. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more from Poh Yu Tian. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, most certainly. Thanks for joining me. It was a pleasure having you on the stream. And congratulations on being Malaysia's next international master. Best wishes to you. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers and bye for now.